flag
Recording in
of the United
progress.
States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Good evening, everybody. And tonight, starting with open forum, we have several things for open forum tonight. First, as I think most people here in town know, on Sunday, May 1st, we had an incident at Millworks in Westford involving a gentleman and the possession of a dangerous weapon and a gun. Our police force responded quickly, efficiently, and with just complete professionalism in handling and dealing with this situation. And the select board would like to acknowledge their actions, their response, and to thank them for keeping the community and all of the people and children and parents who were present at Millworks on that day. And we would specifically like to recognize the following individuals who were involved in the response. And those individuals include Dispatcher Jocelyn Stott Wright, Dispatcher Rebecca Michaels, Lieutenant Brandon Holmes, Officer Matthew Bunyan, Officer Joseph Chinell, Officer Timothy Jansen, Officer Timothy Larkham, Officer Nicholas Mariano, and Canine Officer Corey Pelado. Thank you to all of you for everything you do, not just on May 1st, but for everything that you do for all of us every day when you're out there. And not only to these folks, but to all our police officers and dispatchers. We very much appreciate it. So.
Well done.
Okay, next, we have two Eagle Scouts whom we would like to recognize and congratulate. And the first is Devij Kunaparaju. Devij built 3 solar charging stations and installed them at Stony Brook, thereby continuing to foster and support the town's commitment to clean energy and sustainability. So we thank you for that project and congratulations on becoming an Eagle Scout. Ah, there you are.
Hi, thank you. I appreciate it.
You know, thank you so much. We know how hard and how much work goes into becoming an Eagle Scout. So
yeah, it was nice to give back to like my middle school, and I know like me and my friends spend a lot of time there, so it was nice.
Well, perhaps you and your friends, some of whom may be of driving age now, will be using the charging stations.
Yeah.
All right. And then the second person whom we want to recognize is Vamsi Krishna Vesta. And Vamsi built outdoor seating at the senior center for our seniors, their visitors, and anybody really to come and sit outside and enjoy the outdoors, gather, speak, and talk. And I know that the senior center and the seniors themselves are very appreciative of that project as well. So thank you to him as well. And, you know, as we've said before, so many projects in town would not get done without all of the initiative and work that folks like you all do and that the Eagle Scouts do. So again, thank you so much. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks a lot for the recognition. Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, next, we actually have next is actually, it's not on our agenda, but I was sent an email and I do want to announce to folks, everybody remember the gummy bears? And their project with respect to zoning and the first Lego League. Well, The Gummy Bears went to the World Festival in Houston, where about 108 teams participated. And the Gummy Bears ended up being one of 4 teams that received the Robot Design Award. So congratulations to them, to their winning and their award in Houston. I think this is one of the first times we participated, and it's just so exciting for all of the kids and their parents and their coaches to win this award. And they also have now made a video that introduces the first Lego League program for folks that they're going to be sharing with the schools. And they're going to be attending the Apple Blossom Parade. So anybody who has questions for them or wants to get involved, please seek them out. They are very enthusiastic and will be excited to talk to you about it. So once again, congratulations to the Gummy Bears. Next, exciting news about our library. Oh, Ellen, you're here. I'm going to let you make the announcement, okay?
Thank you very much. Good evening. So this past Friday, the Office of Administration and Finance did release a report that it would be expanding the amount of funding that the Board of Library Commissioners could spend each year under the Massachusetts Public Library Construction Grant. It may seem long ago, but between March of 2012 and October of 2016, the town meeting voted 4 different times to allow us to be in this position. Now we know that on July 7th, we will receive a provisional grant notification. That means that then the town would have 6 months in which to approve and consider this project. So this next week, the Board of Library Trustees meet with the Permanent Town Building Committee representatives, the Sustainability representative, the Board of Library Commissioner building consultants. We have a COVID review. And of course, our biggest work will be looking at bringing the cost estimates, which were accurate as of 2017, up to date. So we will be back in front of this board, bringing you up to date and sharing exactly what the process is and what kind of support and guidance we'll be needing.
Great. That's very exciting news. It has been a long road. So thank you, Ellen.
Thank you.
And then 2 announcements and reminders for folks. The 2022 Apple Blossom Festival is back and is being celebrated from Wednesday, tomorrow, May 11th to Sunday, May 15th. And yes, we will be back with our parade on Saturday, June 11th, starting, I think, around 9 or 9:30. Or actually, no, I'm sorry, the parade starts at 10, going down Main Street and ending at the Abbott School. So it's supposed to be a beautiful day on Saturday. So we look forward to seeing everybody back out at the parade for the first time in 2 years. And then the second announcement I want to make is just to remind everybody, annual town meeting is Saturday, June 11th at 9 a.m. On the field at Westford Academy. The town meeting documents are available on the town's website for anybody who wants to look at them beforehand. And we hope to see everybody there. And then just one final thing that I have for open forum, and on a sad note, the select board would like to extend its sympathies and condolences to Marilyn Frank, who has been a teacher in our schools, a member of the Conservation Commission, a town hall employee who has basically devoted, her life to making everything here in Westford better. Her husband of 43 years passed away last week, and we all extend our deepest sympathies and condolences to Marilyn and to her family. And with that, Anybody from the board have anything for public open forum? And I know Patty, you do, so.
Thanks, Andrea. I just wanted to thank my election workers who helped me out on Tuesday of last week. I want to congratulate everyone who ran in the town election. Winners and losers, you put yourself out there. I can't help but have the greatest respect for everyone who ran. And we had our new machines. There was a little bit of hiccups, but you know, it's the first time, and the 2 polling locations, and I think it went pretty well. I got a lot of positive response. It's a dress rehearsal for this fall. We got about, how many people did? Probably we had 2,300 people. Lost my mind. If this election, sorry, I can't remember the exact figure right now. And hopefully it will continue to be positive, and we'll go from there. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, let me just check to see if anybody else has anything for open forum. I don't see anything from the audience, so moving right along to our 7:05 p.m. item, which is a public hearing which would have been continued from April 26, 2022, regarding a request to amend a license under General Law, Chapter 148, Section 13, to store flammables, combustibles, or explosives on land in buildings or structures in Westford. The applicant has requested a continuance again until our 6/14 meeting at 7:05 p.m. So is there a motion to continue this public hearing to 6/14 at 7:05?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we are at our 7:10 p.m. item, which is to consider National Grid's request to remove 44 public shade trees on Forge Village Road between utility poles numbers 3 and 76 and Hartford Road between utility poles 12 and 13 for their storm hardening and capital improvement project purposes. And I think we have Neil Doran from National Grid, as well as Steve Cronin from who's our Director of Public Works. So I guess let me, why don't I start with you, Steve, okay?
Thank you, Andrea. So yes, around the start of the year, we were contacted by National Grid regarding a planned conductor capital improvement project along Forge Village Road from Flag Road to Town Farm Road. This project is designed to upgrade some of their infrastructure, including replacing poles and upgrading wires along the route. As part of this, National Grid conducted a hazard tree assessment and looked at trees both on private property and within the town's right-of-way that pose some potential risks to this project and their financial investment in the project as well. So as part of that project process, the public shade trees have to go through the typical Chapter 87 public shade tree process, which we've done. We conducted 2 separate hearings, notified the public about these 44 trees. We did receive a number of comments and objections to the project. As a result of that, National Grid conducted a second assessment of these trees, which they deemed a risk assessment, and modified their request. But as part of the Chapter 87 process, the Select Board has the ultimate say and approval over the removal of public shade trees. So with that, National Grid has amended their request. I've evaluated it. I've made my own recommendations, which I've included in your packet. We've tried to take into consideration, obviously, the town and the Commonwealth's climate action and sustainability goals as best we could, as well as looking for opportunities to accommodate National Grid's request to complete this project. I do want to note that, along this route, there are some critical pieces of town infrastructure, including the town's water treatment plant, 2 of its wells, as well as as Westford Academy. So things to take in consideration as well. We did look at these trees and their risk to both the power lines and the town's right of way, and tried to assess those as well. So those also factored into our recommendations. Curtis Davis, our local program manager from National Grid, is here, as well as Neil Doran, National Grid's arborist, so they can address any specific questions to the project that you may have. But with that being said, I can answer any questions you have as well.
So Steve, just for the viewing audience, I mean, I know we have your report in our packet, but for anybody, and there may be people out there who don't and who haven't read it, can you just briefly summarize your recommendations and how I know that no longer are 44 trees being considered, but that has been decreased. So if you could just explain that for the public, I'd appreciate it.
Yep. So National Grid originally came through with a request to remove 44 trees. That only includes, like I said, trees within the public way. After our 2 public shade tree hearings, we went back out and assessed the trees with National Grid's arborists. They reduced their request, I believe, to 18 trees, and we reduced that even further down to, I believe it's 15 in total now. One of the concerns that National Grid had, obviously, with trimming is that it aesthetically, it's not the greatest thing, and it does pose some health risks to the tree. We looked at each tree individually. Their concern is that, if you're cutting along the power lines, you may be adding, unbalanced weight to the tree, which they call back weighting the tree. We looked at each one of those individually, and those trees that are back weighted, it doesn't appear that if they were to fall, they pose any risk to private property. So in that case, we recommended trimming as opposed to removal. We looked at both infestation issues, the overall health of the tree, and we felt there were some opportunities to further reduce their request down to trimming as opposed to removal.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Doran, do you have anything that you would like to add or say?
Actually, I was wondering if you guys could possibly add Curtis Davis. I believe he has his hand raised. He was gonna go over the project kind of engineering piece. I just do the forestry part of it.
Sure. Eric, can you do that for us?
Thank you.
I'm not seeing anyone under the name Curtis Davis or anyone with their hand up.
Okay, neither am I. Neil, do you know if he has signed into our meeting?
Yeah, I'm actually on the phone with him on the other line right now.
Okay.
Just making sure. Well, if you don't see him, I can read his part. I do have it. So give me one sec. Okay. So just a little background on the project scope. This was a reconductor project, about 7,700 feet of, currently it's
Oh, I think, hang on a minute, Neil. It looks like that Mr. Davis is connecting.
Oh, thank you.
Let's just see if he actually does. Mr. Davis, are you there? Up?
Hi, good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. Thank you.
All right, wonderful. Apologize for the technical difficulties. There we go. My camera's on now. Good evening, Select Board. Thank you very much for having us here tonight. Steve, thank you for covering the scope of the job and what we discussed in the last couple of walkthroughs. Very thorough. I appreciate that. I'm just going to talk a little bit more about the specifics of the project. So it's, as earlier stated, this project is a storm hardening and reliability upgrade project, and it's a reconductor of 7,700 feet of bare open wire conductor with spacer cables between Town Farm Road and Flag Road on Forge Village Road. And this type of infrastructure in the spacer cable style of construction is more resilient to incidental tree branch contact, as well as just the more reliable wire and a more upgraded piece of technology. So on this particular feeder, there's just over 1,771 customers. And since 2016 on this feeder, there's been 11 outages, and those have been contributed to tree branches or trees falling. I also want to note, as Steve mentioned earlier, there are quite a bit of critical facilities along this feed. In total, there's 19, in addition to two customers on life support along this feed as well. With that, I'm going to pass it over to Neil to speak more on the specifics of the tree work that's going to be involved.
Does somebody have a map, excuse me, does somebody have a map right now as to what trees we're talking about?
We have a map of the project. Oh, thank you, Eric.
Oh, perfect.
Right, but we're not talking about all these trees now, right, that are numbered?
No, those are the utility poles. It's the kind of general scope of the job is actually what Eric just pulled up.
Is this the document you're looking for?
Not really. I was wondering if we have a document that shows where the trees are located.
We
Eric,
did not map
in the
them.
select board packet, yeah, at the top of that, there should be a spreadsheet with the
The
40
second
forest trees.
page. Yeah, the second page of the packet, Eric.
Okay, thanks. But these are all 44 trees, right?
Yep. So the far right two columns are the columns that Steve and I came up with after taking another walk, taking into consideration every comment that we had received at public hearing, as well as some individual residents that had sent some emails in after the public hearing asking us to take another look at some things. The only difference right now between my list and Steve's list is 3 specific trees. And they're, for me, the reason that they're still on my list is based on the upgrade of this system with increasing pole height. The trees, even once I trim them, are going to be incredibly close to the wire, which poses a risk of an outage in a storm just from the trees swaying in normal wind conditions. Right, Steve, it's only 3 trees in difference between our 2 lists.
I believe there are a couple more at the bottom in the vicinity of 6 Hildreth that have been changed to trim as opposed to remove as well.
Yep, I think it was 1 we took care of it. Yep, and I'm fine with that being trimmed as well.
And there was one other one, a red pine in the vicinity of 60 Forge Village Road that was on the opposite side of the street that I felt could be trimmed and wasn't leaning necessarily in the direction of the infrastructure. So I wasn't overly concerned about its potential to impact that.
Okay. So I think what you're saying is, in essence, with the exception of 3 trees, the 2 of you have agreed as to which trees are to be removed?
Yes.
Correct.
Okay.
Yep.
And then the others are to be trimmed, is that right?
Correct. The other town trees, we were comfortable with trimming, not posing a risk to private property by back weighting trees that have some evident decay.
Okay, got it. All right, questions from the board? John?
Well, it appears that quite a few of them are dead. Would it be too much of an imposition to just touch on the ones that we're going to remove? I think you're talking about 16 to 18 trees, something like that. And just touch on the reasons for it.
Yeah.
The threat.
15 now, 15 trees they're saying.
Okay, but about 6 of them are dead, right?
Yes.
At least.
Yep.
6 or 7 are dead.
I got 8 dead ones, yeah.
And so the other ones, what's the threat for them? Why you want to remove them?
So twofold. I can go down one by one if you want.
No, just in general.
Okay, so in general, when we do these upgrades, we have to increase the pole height to meet current standards for fiber optic lines that have been added, other standards from the state to make space for other utilities on the pole down the road, mostly fiber optic. So by increasing the height, most cases 5 feet, some cases 10 feet, it changes what I would normally have to trim. So stuff that we had trimmed and left in the past, I'll now be trimming off of the tree. And in some cases, it's most of what's left on the tree that's green, which would basically turn it into a standing stump. Some of the other trees on the list are trees that when we did a hazard assessment, they were either hollow, rotten, had been previously struck by lightning, were a few of them. So they had scarring on the back from lightning strikes and rot above the wires. And that, I'd say, pretty much rounds out most of the list, Steve, or they'd been hit by a car previously.
Yeah, there were some also that had some species specific infestation issues, like ash borer or white pine weevil and things like that. So individual to those specific trees.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, anybody else from the board have any questions? Yes, Anita.
Yeah, I just wanted to say thanks to National Grid for going back and reviewing the list after Steve Cronin had a chance to take a look at it. And, thank you to Steve for reviewing everything and working with the public in those public hearings. I have a question about whether or not this storm hardening and capital improvement project is going to be going through other parts of town, or is this going to be the complete list?
So currently, this is the only project that we have on the books for, I believe, this calendar year. It's the only project that I've been notified of to go out and do ready work on.
Not to say there won't be others in either.
Exactly, and that's the thing.
But
So
related
to this job,
Okay.
in other towns nearby in the area, due to increase in charging station infrastructure, we've been having to do a lot of upgrades, very similar to this job, but for a different reason. So if that's something that happens in town here, there will probably be more infrastructure projects coming sooner rather than later.
So to Neil's point, I think one of the things that we struggle with a little bit, and we're trying to find that right balance, is sort of the need to upgrade the infrastructure to support charging stations and solar and some of the sustainable and clean energy technologies that we want, as well as protecting that infrastructure from some of these trees that are hazards. So I think in the future you're going to see this quite a bit on some of these other projects as we move forward, where we really need to look closely at specific trees and make sure that we're meeting sort of the town's climate action goals on both ends.
Okay, I think that, Steve, your answer just kind of jives into a question that I have from Bill Harmon, which says, has this tree cutting been coordinated with the Westward roadmap to avoid climate collapse, is his term. I think you said that maybe I'll let you answer that, but I think I heard what you said.
Yeah, I mean, I certainly feel that we've done the best that we can. As Neil said, they're looking to upgrade their infrastructure for a number of reasons, and clean energy is one of them. And we've done everything we can to try to reduce the amount of trees that we remove. I think one of the things moving forward that the town needs to consider is how we're going to replace some of these trees, and where that priority is and where that funding is going to come from. So I think that's obviously a discussion for another day and for another budget year, but it is a priority that we do need to evaluate as a town.
Yeah, absolutely. Bob Jeffries has his hand up, so can we unmute Bob? Hey, Bob, can you hear us?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can.
First of all, I'd really like to thank Steve for going through all of this again and again to trim this down to where we're at, which sounds pretty good. My main concern was always the oaks, because the oaks live the longest and they are capable of taking the most abuse and still hanging in there. So the only one I see on the list that is now threatened really is the one at Hartford and Patton Road. Is that correct, Steve?
Yes, that's correct. Yep.
Yeah, and that one I'd really like to try to say that somehow oaks shed their limbs on a regular basis as they grow older.
Mm-hmm.
And if there's anything we can do with that one, I'd really try to do it. My other concern is it's a lot more than on the list is much longer, because there's an awful lot of trees that are just marked with a red ribbon that are either they're private or they're on water department property or they're on the cemetery's land. So I don't know what the actual total number of trees coming down is, but the Shade Tree Act is pretty interesting in that unless you know exactly where the boundary is, it's presumed that the tree is a shade tree, public shade tree. So we have a number of them that just because somebody piled rocks in front of the tree doesn't mean that's where the actual line is. So I'm a little concerned about where the actual right-of-way of the road is. I can tell you that National Grid did a great job of trimming 8-inch trees out of my yard because they don't know where the boundary is. So I'm a little concerned about some of the trees that we're not talking about right now that are coming down. And I talked to Steve previously that one concern is on the town forest piece. You cut down that first line of defense and now you've exposed the trees behind, and they're weaker because they've been shielded all of these years. So then you tend to get a progression of collapse that way. But all in all, I'm really happy to see that the list has been refined and redone, and most of the oaks have been saved.
Great. Thanks, Bob.
So just to answer Bob's question, so
Yep.
we did look at boundaries with the information that we had. It is a variable with right of way. So there was quite a lot of work to look at each individual property. We did certainly the best we could. Bob is correct. There are a number of private trees, behind stone walls or on private properties that have been marked. National Grid, I don't unfortunately have any jurisdiction over those trees. National Grid is working directly with those private property owners. Some of them did obviously attend our hearings, and they did voice their concerns and frankly have changed their their initial decision or permission with National Grid to remove those. To that end, I would certainly caution anyone, with private trees on private property, obviously consider the town's climate action goals moving forward, in their decision on whether or not they want those trees removed. As far as the oak on Hartford Road, that is part of this project. It's also a tree that the school department did ask us to evaluate as well. Neil, I don't know if there's any opportunity to trim that or if we can reconsider that.
Yeah, I don't have an issue trimming it, Steve. I think you and I didn't really pay attention to whether it could reach the parking lot or not, but we can take another look. So that's something we could table till next week and take a peek at, or later this week.
Okay. When is this project slated to start?
Originally, it was going to be first on deck for our fiscal year. We were trying to have it done before summer thunderstorm season, just with kind of the delays in the hearings and the multiple hearings and pushing it back. Currently, it's behind a couple other projects that we ended up starting in other towns. So most likely July, August.
Okay. Okay. Any other questions or comments? Oh, wait a minute. We have a comment from Sue Thomas. Climate, Clean Energy and the Sustainability Committee has been tracking this project and is seeking precedent for establishing criteria to balance the value of standing trees, our climate infrastructure, versus the risk to our electrical and other building infrastructure. At the moment, I believe we're all trying to learn quickly and be responsive to current projects to reach a good balance, but there is a learning curve for all. We appreciate the responsiveness of all our town departments and National Grid to date. Thanks, Sue. And then Don Sutton has written, thank you to Steve and Neil for all their efforts. As stated, Forge Village Road has had many outages over the years. I very much appreciate the attempt to improve the reliability of the infrastructure. I have 4 trees in front of my house and 3 of the 4 are dead, unhealthy, so they will not help with climate green, and I agree with the recommendations to have them removed. Thank you for your comment, Don. Emily Teller has a comment. So if we could unmute Emily, please. Go ahead, Emily.
Okay, now I'm unmuted. Thank you very much. I have 3 things I want to say. The first of which isn't thank you, but I really appreciate the care that has been given to this project on a tree-by-tree basis by various people in town. And I think it's wonderful and time-consuming, and I'm very grateful. My first comment is, how can citizens now trust that National Grid will continue to do less and trim in Westford? I mean, you know, obviously there are people who care about the trees, and we will come to every tree hearing. And I think that this has been a learning curve for both Neil and Curtis, Mr. Curtis. So how can this be the precedent going forward? And I can either wait for my answer to that, or I can also ask the other questions.
Why don't you ask your other questions?
Okay. The second one is, if the toll poles have been getting higher, will the street lights also be higher on those poles? And my third question is more of a comment. As we know, planting of trees is tenuous because they need a lot of water every week for the first year to survive. And planting smaller trees does not equate with taking big ones and old ones down in terms of carbon sequestration.
Okay, that was just a comment, yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
just a comment.
I was going to say, all right, just checking. All right, let's kind of do them backwards, because I think your question about if the poles are higher, will the streetlights be higher, seems to me probably the more simpler of the 2 questions to answer. So I would think either Neil or Curtis could answer that question.
Actually, it's probably better answered by me. So the town, we actually own the streetlights now. With the poles being higher, obviously we have a little bit more real estate to put them, but the town can really determine, you know, the height they want those lights to be at. You know, we have a lot of flexibility with the new lighting system that we have here in town. So we have the opportunity to sort of place them where we want, as well as to, you know, combat certain issues that we have with light pollution. So we have flexibility to dim those lights or to put, you know, shields or deflectors on them as well. So we've done that in a number of cases where we've heard from residents that have issues over light pollution.
Okay. And then
I'm thrilled to hear that, Steve. Thank you very, very much for all you can do.
And then Emily's first question was basically, to paraphrase, how do we ensure that this process continues going forward?
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, really the Chapter 87 process is pretty well defined. You know, we've taken a lot of efforts to try to make sure we stick to that pretty strictly, especially on this project. And we'll be doing that as best we can moving forward. You know, as far as trees on private property, like I said, you know, I don't really have any jurisdiction on those. Other town properties that fall into care and custodies of other boards, right now they have the jurisdiction to basically decide sort of the fate of those trees. So, you know, I think it's, it's really going to be a discussion between, the various boards and committees on making sure that, what we're doing with our town properties aligns with, the town's climate action goals.
Okay.
Yes, what about the right of way? I mean, I think most of the comments have been about the trees in the right of way, and
Right, so any tree within the right of way has to go through the Chapter 87 process. So that includes the public shade tree hearings and the notifications. So that's the opportunity really for the public to get involved and for us to hear their comments. So, I'm hoping that, as Neil said, we did learn a few things through this process, but I think, it was a positive experience. I think we'll continue to do that, have the public shade tree hearings, then go out and reevaluate and, reassess and make our recommendations based on that.
Andrea, may I just ask one more question of Steve?
One more.
I went on the town's website today to try and select getting the push notifications, and I didn't see any way to do that for shade tree. So I just hope that somehow the town IT people can put that on there so people can request that.
We'll certainly look into that tomorrow. There should be an opportunity to get tree warden agendas, but if not, we'll make sure that that's fixed.
Okay. I don't see any more questions or comments. So I believe what you're looking for is a vote of approval from the select board. Is that correct? Up, Scott?
Yes. Actually, I think isn't there one tree that that oak tree at the corner of Patton?
Right.
It's going to get so that comes off the motion for the moment to look at it again.
Yes. I would think so. So does that mean it's 14 trees, Steve, as opposed to 15?
Yes, whatever's on the final recommendation list minus that one tree on Hartford Road.
Okay, can we just get that up again, Eric, to make, I want to make sure that we are actually voting on the specific trees that are going to be removed, okay?
Yep. So you're correct. It'll be 15 in total, and that does not include the one oak on Hartford.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, with that clarification, is there a motion?
I make a motion that we approve the removal of 15 trees as listed.
14, John.
14, okay, 14 trees as listed.
Second.
All right. Jody, obviously we're not doing something quite correct, so could you put us on track?
I thought Steve said it was 15 without the oak.
Right, so it's 15 without the oak, and then if you could also include in your motion to trim those other trees, the remaining trees on the list, because that also has to be part of your motion.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, so the motion is to remove 15 trees and trim the others.
Correct.
Got it. All right. So that was John's motion. Anita, will you second that as amended? Okay, great.
Yes.
All right. With that, all those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. And let me echo the thanks that you've all heard here tonight, both to Steve, to National Grid, to all of the residents who have participated in this process. I think, as everybody said, it's been a learning process, and hopefully we've learned and we have better practices going forward for the next time, which I'm sure there will be a next time we see National Grid. So thank you all.
Thank you very much for your time.
Okay, we're at our 7:35 p.m. item, which is an update and current news from the Westford Police Department. And our Chief Chambers, Mark Chambers, is here to update us.
Hi, everybody. There we go.
Hi, good evening.
Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Okay, excellent. First, I would just like to say thank you very much for recognizing the dispatchers and the officers that were involved with that call down at the millworks. They did a phenomenal job. even the feedback that we got from the witnesses and the officers were all actually very complimentary of each other, which is unusual sometimes when you have a call of that nature. So it's greatly appreciated by me, and I know that the men and women of the police department also appreciate that type of feedback and recognition. So, all right. You asked me to come back in 6 months. We stretched it out to about 6.5, I think, but I'm here for our update. So the Westford Police Department is currently budgeted for 49 officers. The last one was added in January of 2021, so 2022's fiscal budget. We are currently at 46 officers hired full-time, and we do have 3 vacancies. The 50th officer has been budgeted for this year. Hopefully that will go through at town meeting, we'll see. But I think the last time that we met, we did have 2 officers that we were in the process of hiring to backfill the position that was left open after Chief McEnany retired, and also the new hire. We had originally offered conditional letter to a prospective employee, but he was not able to complete everything that he needed to before attending an academy. But we've since hired 2 new officers to replace them. They're in the Reading Police Academy, and they are doing very well. They're actually almost done. They have about 5 more weeks left before graduation. So towards the end of June, they should be coming out, and they'll do a 10 to 12 week FTO program, and then you'll start seeing them operating their own cruisers. So the next bullet point that I have there is 3 in process of being hired. We did offer 3 conditional letters of employment to 3 individuals that actually 2 out of the 3 grew up in Westford, and 1 moved to Westford and has some experience with law enforcement. They actually started the Lowell Police Academy yesterday. So I got my dates mixed up. I thought it was next Monday that they were going to start, but I spoke with Captain Pelquin. He squared me away. So they started the academy over in Lowell yesterday, and by all reports, they did very well the first day. It is an incredibly physically demanding academy. I know I went there 24 years ago. You know, running 12 miles is never something that I enjoyed. So hopefully they enjoy it a little bit more. But one of the interesting things is that we have introduced a field training officer liaison program. We recognize that policing, when you come into this position, is slightly different than a lot of other jobs. So we wanted to make sure with uniforms and scheduling and everything else that we had specific officers assigned that help with that transition. Not just a member of the administration that tells them what time they need to be someplace and where they need to go, but somebody that has lived that recently and that can help them kind of along the way. So Eric, if you could go to the next slide, please. So this slide you saw the last time too. And one of the reasons why I wanted to keep this in here is because I think it's very important for everybody to know that the Westford Police Department is an accredited agency. That's one of the things that has come out of the police reform is set standards for police officers and the Peace Officer Standards and Training Commission. We meet all those standards currently. The benefits are listed on this slide, and then on the next slide, Eric, if you could move. I don't want to beat a dead horse. I know we've spoken about this in the past, but the things that I feel are very important is that it gives us the ability to judge our performance against other agencies and make sure that and ensures that we're following best practices, and it promotes the accountability, gives us a means of independent evaluation, and it really does enhance the reputation of the agency and hopefully helps to promote the public's confidence in us and where we're at. We did just have Captain Pelquin and Detective Lieutenant Rickard attend the state accreditation conference, where they learned about all the wonderful things that will be coming out, which is going to be a switch to the 6th edition standards, which will include it will include all of the updates that were required to policies and procedures through the Justice and Policing Act. Now, we were recently certified. Our most recent certification was in assessment was in 2020, February of 2020, where we were reaccredited. So every 3 years we have to be reaccredited again, and we're scheduled for actually this upcoming March of 2023. February of 2023, and the 6th edition doesn't go into effect until March of 2023. But we are going to try and meet those standards for the 6th edition. We want to make sure that we're pushing ourselves to make sure that we're hitting all the best standards that we can. So we feel it's very important to try and make those updates as soon as possible. And we want to be one of the first ones to do it. So it is an ongoing and very important effort to maintain our accreditation status. So Eric, you can go to the next one. So you can see the current Police Reform Act, Justice and Policing. We already have completed all of our requirements for our reporting to the Post-C Commission through the state. And one of the things that has also come out is the Middlesex District Attorney, Marion Ryan, has requested that all officer disciplinary records be forwarded to her as well for potential discovery notices. We've completed all of those reporting requirements early. As of June 15th, the officer certifications for all officers with last names A through H will be submitted, which essentially allows those officers to continue working after July 1st. And then on June 30th, for recertification on July 1st, every officer for the Westford Police Department has to complete their required 40 hours of training. So that's the minimums that officers have to complete is 40 hours of training. And some of those types of training that we take are for CPR and first responder. We do have 12 to 16 hours of firearms training and our use of force training. We do receive legal updates for Supreme Court updates to both criminal law and criminal procedure. We received additional training in cultural competency and dealing with mass gatherings, because there have been a lot of legal changes around protests and the police ability to respond to certain events. So Eric, if you can go to the next one. So this is one of the fun things that came out of the police panel last year, was different ideas that we could come up with to engage with the public. And Lieutenant Gendron also went through the process, and after we completed the process, I spoke with everybody that was involved. And Lieutenant Gendron had this great idea to form this community event team. We were looking for an opportunity to get more officer feedback and have a little bit more structure in how we were going to respond to things. So we have selected 6 officers to work with Lieutenant Brian Gendron on different community initiatives and events. Obviously, everything still does go through our administration for review and approval. But we did select 6 officers to work with Lieutenant Gendron, and they help to plan, staff, and organize these community events. The very first one you can see in the bottom right is all those kids on a very, very freezing day. It was about 15 degrees out, and we had 7 or 8 of our police officers out there doing a learn to skate with area youth. We had 2 separate sessions. Unfortunately, we did schedule some additional sessions that didn't work out because this was a very odd winter. The ice would melt and refreeze, and they don't want to skate in soup. So we had to try and reschedule a couple times, and it just didn't work out. But look forward to bringing that back this upcoming winter. Some of the things that we're already starting to plan: a national night out. We actually have some really cool stuff planned for that. Through some connections that we have with the DEA and ATF, we might be able to get some special machines out. We're working on all those. We do have a family movie night, hopefully coming up, that we're working with WA, that we should be able to pull off by the end of June. I spoke with Ann Zato over at the Rodenbush Community Center for the Farmers Market, and we're going to have a table on certain dates where we're going to discuss different things like internet safety, car seat safety, bike safety, etc. Some may follow our brand new Instagram page where we work with Mike Wells down at the IT department. And one of the ideas that a resident actually brought up to me was possibly doing a column in the Ghostwriter down at WA. So I'm hoping to be able to set something up with myself and the SRO where we can answer students' questions on a regular basis through the Ghostwriter, so we can provide a little bit of feedback. And before you go up, Eric, one real quick second. So the top picture right there with the 4 officers underneath the Westford Police tent was the most recent event on, I believe it was April 26th, over at the Good Pickin' Farm, where they did the helicopter ball drop. We have been able to partner with the Rotary Club and several other area organizations that I would like to thank because they've really come through in a big way to help fund some of these events. We've also received a bunch of donations. The Westford Police Association and Superior Officers Association have also helped to fund some of these events. We never knew when we took this on that might be one of the difficult parts because we don't budget for these types of events. So coming up with additional funding to be able to do these has been a little bit of a challenge, but we're working through it and hopefully we can pull off all the ones that we want to be able to pull off. All right, sorry, Eric, you can move down now. All right, moving a little quicker, Eric. So we did get the 3 hybrid cruisers. They are in at the vendor. The first one is being fitted over as we speak. And we're hoping to receive that first one within the next week or two. And then the other 2 hybrid cruisers, hopefully by the end of May or at least the beginning of June. And I do want to say that I did watch back the meeting from last week about the fully electric SUV that we're hoping to be able to use for our traffic officers because they're different responsibilities. We can free up the cruiser that they're driving now. But this also works as a way for us to kind of vet those types of vehicles and see if it's going to be suitable for our needs in the future. So thank you for the ARPA funding request being fulfilled. And then I think there's one more, Eric. And this is another new one that we formed. Captain Pelican and myself and other members of the department really kind of took some of the feedback that we've received from our officers, from our dispatchers, and worked very closely with the fire department about health and wellness of our officers. And what we were able to do is through the See a New Sun Foundation, they donated $10,500 for us to purchase a computer-based application that we can upload all of the necessary and area-wide services that our officers may need to help them with the health and wellness needs that they have. There's also self-assessments that and daily check-ins that officers can do to see if they should look into additional forms of self-care. So our team here at the Westford PD is made up of 6 police officers and 1 of our civilians. And they will work under the direction of Captain Pelican. Again, I will be working very closely with them and, you know, giving final authorization to a lot of this stuff. But the goal is to be able to really tailor this app to the needs of our community. One of the things that I'm very happy about is this will be accessible by all Westford public safety agencies and their families. So it's really an app for everybody within the public safety umbrella of this town. And we are going to continue to work with the Westford Fire Department and Public Safety Dispatch, who have also created their own health and wellness teams to help manage all the resources that we maintain on the application. So and with that, that's a basic summary of where we're at.
Thank you, Chief. Very much appreciated. You've been busy over the last 6 months. Are there any questions or comments from the board? No? Okay. Oh, Scott.
I was just going to say, first, thank you for the presentation. And I think it's just echo Andrea's comments earlier that I can only imagine what it was like to get the word gun, and as a police officer know that everyone else is running out and you're running in. That takes some extra courage. So, thanks to your department for responding so professionally, but also, going into places where most of us would not want to be going. So, thank you.
Anita?
Thanks so much for the presentation, Chief. I know that, there's a lot of information that you shared with us, and Andrea's right, you have been really busy. And I know that most folks who know me know that I'm always a fan of the community engagement and community events. And I know that just a couple of weeks ago, you all did like the high fives with the kids. I don't know what the official day was, but that was adorable. So thank you so much. And thanks for all of the work that you do.
Oh, I'm sorry, John, go ahead and then I'll make my comment.
Yeah, thank you, Chief. That was a good rundown. Appreciate all that you've done here.
Thank you.
Chief, again, appreciation. The one sort of thought I had in comment as you focus on, the mental health and well-being of your department and of the families, because I think they come into play as well. As you know, we are hiring, or we actually have hired a new wellness coordinator. So if there is a way that you can coordinate with her, that she can help you, that she can perhaps share resources and information that she has for not only your department, but for all first responders in the fire department, I'd certainly encourage you and Chief Targ to reach out to her, work with her. I'm sure she'll be reaching out to you folks as well, because the mental health and well-being of all of our employees is really paramount to us. So I just offer that to you.
Thank you, Andrea. We certainly will. We plan on working very closely with Nicole. I was actually part of the interview process with her, and thank you, Jody, for including me in that. That was a wonderful learning experience, actually, for me. But Nicole, and there's also the regional, and then we also have our COIN program that we've been working very closely with for the past couple of years as well. We plan on taking very full advantage of all of those resources. So thank you.
Great. Jody?
Yes, so I did want to thank the chief and Anita, who both volunteered to help us go through the resumes and interview process for the new wellness coordinator. And we did hire her. She's has to have a physical first, but she will be starting, I believe it's May 31st now. I am planning to set up a schedule for her to meet with all the stakeholders. But if I don't reach out to you in the next week or so and you're out there and you want to meet with her, please send me an email. If I miss someone, I definitely want to get meetings set up with everyone. So thank you.
Great, thank you. All right, thanks so much, Chief. Have a good evening.
You too, thank you.
All right, we're at our 7:50 p.m. item, which is a request to approve fiscal year 2022 and 2023 Town Manager and Finance Committee recommendations. And Jody, I think we're starting with you with fiscal year 2022 budget transfers.
Yes, I'm going to let Dan go through this with you. And if you have questions, I'm sitting right here, but we'll let Dan run through this.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Dan.
So here we have 7 budget transfers to present to you. As you know, we've done this the past several years between May 1st and July 15th with the authorization of the Finance Committee and Select Board. We are allowed to make budget transfers between departmental budgets. I'll just go down the list, and if we have questions on these, please feel free to stop me. The first one is one that we've done the past 2 years. It's for the school computers. Mike Wells likes to order these in May, so they have enough time to get those ready for the incoming freshmen in September. We are taking the money from the recycling processing fees, which I'm happy to say that we've only spent about $61 out of that account this year. And it's brought in over $24,000 revenue from the shared cost with waste management. So, and of the request was originally $228,000. The schools are absorbing $13,000 of that, and the rest is coming via transfer. Next up, we have 2 for the police. They are requesting to transfer from patrol wages to $30,000 to gasoline because of the increased gasoline prices, and $2,200 to the training line item because they have an additional recruit going through the academy right now that they're trying to pay for. Next up is gasoline for the fire department. We're requesting to take this money from the street lighting account, the electricity portion of it. We do have a large credit on the books with National Grid at the moment due to the upgrade to the LED lighting and a billing error on their part. So we are trying to work down that credit. Next up are 3 articles to do with debt service. The first one is from the Abbott School MSBA project. Well, after a year, the project was completed. We did receive a bill for $27,000. And we had already permanently bonded the project. We do owe this money. So our thought process here was that we'll transfer money from the debt service account to the school encumbrance account so we can pay for that outstanding invoice. The other option would be just to pay the invoice out of the capital project fund, which of course we'd have to bond, and it doesn't make sense to incur those borrowing costs on $27,000 invoice.
Before you move on, Dan, John has a question.
Yeah, Dan, could you characterize that cost? What was that for and why was it late? And is that project done mostly under the school, MSBA supervision?
Yes, this was a school project and they were managing at the time. And this invoice should have come out right when COVID hit. So I'm guessing that had something to do with why the invoice did not get sent. So we did confirm with Permanent Town Building Committee. Jesse was speaking with them, and we do owe the funding for that. That was our understanding.
So was this an increase in the cost of the project?
It was just an invoice that they didn't send. So it was within the project budget.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. So the next two are projects that we had issued general fund. We had authorized the issuance of general fund bonds. However, in the case of the Pine Grove Cemetery, the total cost from the general fund is only going to be about $70,000 at most. So again, we don't think it's worthwhile to actually bond this. If we transfer money from the debt service, which would otherwise close out the free cash, we can pay for this project in whole right now and not have to budget for debt in future years. And the same goes for the school radios. It's a $108,000 project. This is right when COVID hit that this was authorized, where we were watching our reserves very closely. So we did issue bonds for it. But however, at this point, we feel like we can absorb it just by transferring money out of the debt service account to pay for this in full. And the Finance Committee did vote to support these transfers 8-0 on Thursday night.
Okay, does anybody have any questions? Okay, I don't see any. So is there a motion to support these transfers? Second?
Second.
Okay, and all those in favor, John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
All right. The next one is the fiscal year 2022 expenditure limit increase for the Agricultural Commission Community Gardens Revolving Fund.
I can handle this one as well, if you like.
Somebody, yep.
Sure. So the Agricultural Commission had met. Every 2 to 3 years, they have to order compost to put in the community garden. And on those years, they're going to exceed the $10,000 expenditure limit. So they met last Monday and requested to increase the revolving fund expenditure limit to $15,000. So this will take care of the limit for this year. And then it's also updated in the warrant and motions to increase that limit to $15,000.
Any questions?
Motion to approve.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. And then last is here, fiscal year 2023 town manager budget adjustments.
And I will take that one as well, too, if that's okay. Here we had one adjustment. It was to increase the select board budget by $6,000 in FY23. The reason being is we want a placeholder in there for the additional ballot question for Indigenous Peoples Day. For the town manager's office is now responsible for hanging the banners outside the common, and also to restore some funding for the strategic planning retreat.
Okay. Jody?
Yeah, Dan, did you say where the money's coming from?
Oh, I'm sorry. We are reducing the allowance for abatements and exemptions account, which is our basically how we give abatements to residents.
Okay. Okay. Any questions from the board? Scott?
This will be a town retreat in June of 2023, correct?
Go ahead, Jody.
So I've talked to Andrea and I have approached Kimball Farm about the possibility of holding one in September. We did not feel we could hold it this year while we're getting ready for town meeting at the same time. So we are in discussions with Kimball Farm right now, and that may come up at the next meeting of the select board. So that would be our goal.
Scott?
Yeah, thanks. That to me is one of the most productive ways of residents to directly talk to town staff all at once. It's a great thing. So I totally support it.
I thought waiting until June of 2023 was a long time.
Great.
Can I say one more thing?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not sure if Dan mentioned this, but the Finance Committee did vote in favor of these three requests at their meeting last week. So.
Okay. Let's see. We did 1 and 2, so we're the last one. Is there a motion to approve the town manager's budget adjustments for fiscal year 2023?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Okay. And all those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. All right. Thank you. Okay. We're at our continued discussion and recommendations of town meeting warrant articles. And again, annual town meeting is Saturday, June 11th at 9 a.m. at Westford Academy Field. So, Jody?
Yes, so if you'd like, I'll walk through
Yep.
these with you. Okay,
Please.
so the first one is Article 3, which is to approve the fiscal year 2022 budget supplement adjustments appropriations. And this is basically to fund the snow and ice deficit, which we had 400,000 in the budget and 234,223 is what we need to complete that for the year. It's Article 3 right there. Yeah.
So is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. The next one, Article 4, is to appropriate for perchlorate, and we are looking for 45,000 for this year. And the figure has been going down, and we do hope eventually to have nothing in there, but that's what we're looking for this year, and the FinCom did vote unanimously in favor.
Is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next one is Article 5, which is capital. And the Capital Planning Committee met many times and did vote in favor of this plan. The Finance Committee did vote in favor. And I'm not going to read any of this unless you want me to, or you have any questions.
Does anybody from the board have any questions?
Let's see.
I'm not seeing any. So Jody, since these are like 2 or 3 motions, we should probably.
Oh, right. So the first part here, this is
Yeah.
all just the regular, the initial that we're looking to fund from free cash for 1,400,492,796. If you scroll down, the next 2 are from Water Enterprise.
Okay, so let's split them up, okay? Let's do the ones from free cash first, then we'll do the water enterprise, okay? So is there a motion to recommend capital, the capital spending from free cash for the projects so listed?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Okay.
So the next 2 are from Water Enterprise.
Okay. Is there a motion to recommend?
I motion to recommend.
A second?
Second.
And all those in favor, John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye.
So then we have ambulance enterprise.
Is there a motion to recommend?
Motion to recommend.
Thank you.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye.
Then we have $1,040,000 for the public safety radio system.
John?
Where is that money coming from?
This is going to be bonded.
Is this will be included? This won't be excluded, that what?
No.
Okay.
Okay, is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, then the next one is for the Plain Road Phase 1, pedestrian improvements for $670,000.
Okay, and
This is bonded also.
I was just going to say this is also bonded.
That's why these are 2/3.
Right. Is there a motion to recommend?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye.
The next one is to appropriate $500,000 for the replacement of culverts, one at 185 North Main, 40 Forge Village Road, and Cold Spring Road, culvert near Old Homestead Road. This will also be bonded.
John?
Okay, if this is going to be bonded, this is going to be paid from the stormwater fund or from stormwater?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. Is there a motion to recommend?
So move.
Second.
And all those in favor, John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. And last but not least.
Yes, so then we have 50,000 to be put into capital stabilization, and these are the last two payments from Robert Walker that will be going into the fund.
Wait, it says 80, Jody.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry, the last two $40,000 payments from Robert Walker, so it's 80.
Okay. I know it's getting late and math is getting difficult. Is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
And all those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye.
So if it's all right with the board, I'll just list your vote since it was 4-0 on everything at the bottom of the entire article, which is how we usually do it. Is that okay?
That's fine.
Okay. So then Article 6, this is we're seeking $1.1 million for the Cameron Senior Center HVAC project, and it will be bonded. And we are also asking to enter into an agreement, an energy management services agreement with Amoresco for 20 years. So I did do a brief presentation with Eric today that I sent to you all earlier. It is in your packet. I don't know if anybody cares to go through it, but basically in a nutshell, well, I don't know. Do you want to go through it or not?
Jody, for the public, I think it, I think it makes sense to go through it.
Okay, so we'll go through it quickly, but we're trying to just do a high level so people kind of understand.
Right.
We've been talking about this Amoresco and this energy management services agreement, and I do have Beth Greenblatt on. She's here if there's any specific questions that we can't answer. But so this is Article 6, and again, we're asking for funding and to enter this energy management services agreement. Uh-oh. Oh, here we go. Okay, so we're basically going to define what is this agreement, and it's an agreement that we would enter to install a portfolio of energy saving measures. So different things like the Cameron Senior HVAC. Mass General Law 25A allows us to contract with one entity, which will eliminate a lot of the procurement hassles that we do under Chapter 149. So that's what this is. Back in September of last year, we did release an RFQ with the select board approval to identify a firm. We got 10 responses. We had members of all these very important boards participate, one member of each, and they deemed Amoresco was most advantageous, and we awarded a contract to the select board for them to conduct an energy or an investment grade audit of all of our town school buildings. So right now they're in the middle of this audit. We got a preliminary look at it. It's not done yet, but basically they will list all the projects that they see that we could reduce the energy usage in our town by moving forward. So back in September, we allocated $75,000 at town meeting to fund this audit, but we only pay for it if we don't agree to do any projects that they recommend. If we do move forward on a project, then that money will be set into the project to help fund it. So these are the types of projects we can do with them, and the Cameron Senior Center HVAC, which is this article, is one of them. But lighting projects, boiler replacements, solar, these are the types of projects they can recommend for the future. So as we said, the audit is underway. We anticipate this will be done in August. I think we had originally thought we would bring a bunch of projects to you this spring, but we aren't ready. So we're only bringing the Senior Center HVAC. But in the fall town meeting, you will expect to see several projects that we're looking to fund. I have asked to form a group, which would be John Cunningham has volunteered, Christina Green, our town staff that are financial and permanent town buildings, and of course facilities, so we can look at these projects and decide what makes the most sense for the town. So while we wait for that, we decided to bring forth the HVAC system from the senior center in that same 2021 town meeting in the fall. We did allocate $100,000 for the design. The project is now estimated to cost $1,600,000. You all approved $500,000 in ARPA, so we are seeking the $1.1 million bond authorization in this article. We did apply for state funds, COVID relief funds, which we were granted, and we have put this project through to help offset this cost. So if we are successful in them approving it, then the 1.1 million would be lower, but we don't know that we'll know that before town meeting. So we can just get the authorization for 1.1 and borrow less if we're successful. So basically, Amoresco is our general contractor project manager because the select board awarded that contract. So for this project and any future projects that we bring to town meeting and they approve, and they will ensure that the proposed equipment is properly installed and operates as designed. One thing important to note is this process under Chapter 25 does not require the town to go with the lowest bidder. So some of our equipment that we've had in the past has failed, and we think it's because we had to go with the cheapest item that was out there. And this will allow us to make different choices. Annually, Amoresco is supposed to conduct a measurement and verification process to see if the town is achieving the estimated energy savings that they have told us we will achieve. And if we don't, they have to write us a check for those savings. And there is a cost for them to take that evaluation or to conduct that evaluation. And for this senior center, it's about $5,000 per year to do that for the next 20 years. So I think the only other thing that I would say is the whole goal for this, not for the HVACs at the senior center, because that project's a little different, but in the future, the goal is that the energy savings of each project will pay for the project. So you would take, say, for example, we just did a project at the schools for lighting. The savings is supposed to be set aside, reduce the school operating budget by those savings, and you pay the debt with the energy related savings. So that is the premise of this whole project. And Eric, if I missed anything, please correct me. And there's Beth, who is here. She's our consultant that we hired through a grant to help us with this. And if you have any specific questions, she's here to answer those.
Great. Well, thank you very much, Jody. I think that certainly, I think is a very helpful explanation. And I think, you know, lets the community know what this is all about, because I know there's been a lot of confusion, and not just confusion, but not understanding what our contract with Amoresco is and how the town is going to benefit. So I think that your presentation has been most helpful.
Thank you.
Scott.
So I guess you have two questions. One is, you know, $75,000 is waived if we, you know, do work with Amoresco, which obviously we'll be doing. So if they're general contractor for the Cameron, presumably there's some fee for that. Is that being applied to the $75K or not? Then secondly, you know, it's $5,000 a year to monitor the Cameron. Well, I mean, there'll be a building automation system already in place, so I would think it should cost nothing to monitor the Cameron, because it'll be there in the computer. So presumably that 5,000 is what's being applied to the 75,000 to basically where we're sort of backloading the cost of the work. I guess, is that a fair question or a fair way to phrase the funding?
So I would ask the chair if you want to recognize Beth since she's here, and let her answer those questions.
Absolutely. Hi, Beth. Thank you for attending our meeting tonight.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. With respect to the issue of the $75,000, which is also phrased as a breakup fee, and it's intended to be used and available if the town made a decision not to move forward with any of the projects. To the extent the town does move forward with a performance contract, which we are looking at it in two stages, if you will, with the senior center first, and then looking potentially for an additional project in the future. The cost of the audit, the actual cost of the audit, will be rolled in as a project cost into the overall project budget. So the $75,000 is a fee that would be paid to Amoresco in the event the town was delivered a product, an investment grade audit, and it made a business decision not to move forward. So you're paying for a fee for some analysis that was done. As for the $5,000 a year for measurement and verification, so as Jody mentioned, Amoresco is both contractually and statutorily required to guarantee the savings that they have projected for the individual projects. And as part of that guarantee obligation, they need to conduct an analysis on an annual basis to demonstrate that those savings have materialized. As you know, the HVAC project at the senior center entails a comprehensive HVAC upgrade and conversion to more electrified systems, plus control systems. And you are absolutely right that there will be a layer of energy management system controls that will provide data. Amoresco will be taking that data and integrating into its models to demonstrate to you that the savings and the assumptions that they made to achieve those savings have actually materialized. And if they have not, as Jody mentioned, they're statutorily and contractually required to compensate the town for any shortfall.
Scott, you're muted.
Thanks, I appreciate that. If I recall over the years, our former colleague Mark Cost was saying, we make the investments, we don't actually see the money come back. Is it because we aren't using them right, or why? So now we'll know the money comes back or it doesn't, and we'll know the why. So thank you.
Okay, John?
Yeah, this is a question for Jody. Jody, as I understand it, then our contract for the Council on Aging for the senior center would be with Amoresco, and they would handle the construction contracts or any subcontracting and changes and quality control. Is that correct?
Yes, and that's why we're not only seeking the appropriation, but we're also asking approval to enter into the energy management services contract with them. So again, our town has never done this before with Chapter 225. This is new. I think this was something Paul Fox proposed with Eric back in the fall. It was very complicated and very, very difficult for all of us to understand. But I feel comfortable that we move forward with the senior center project. And basically, this is a test for us with Amoresco, see how it goes. We need this done, and we are supposed to get, let me think, the energy savings is supposed to be 3 times the energy savings. Unfortunately, because we're converting from gas to electricity, the cost will be 3 times more, but it's supposed to be a net zero because of that. So I think we're just trying to let the public know what this means and that they can expect to see more energy related projects in the future if this goes well. So.
Okay, thank you.
Anita?
I just have a follow-up clarifying question for Beth, if that's okay,
Sure.
about the $5,000 maintenance, the annual maintenance and analysis that Amoresco needs to do. If since they're contractually or they'll be obligated to compensate the town for any savings that are not materialized or realized, but then if that's an annual, if something happens, if they find that there's a discrepancy, so would they'd be compensating the town annually for that particular amount of money that wasn't materialized? But then also, will there be maintenance to rectify that so that, you know, whatever they had originally estimated will be realized?
That's a terrific question. Yeah. So generally speaking, if a particular project doesn't perform as intended, and the energy services company is obligated to make a shortfall payment, they make every effort possible to only have to make it once. So they will come in and remedy, or at their own cost, do some additional upgrades to ensure that the savings that they have guaranteed materialize. And if they don't, then they are going to continuously write checks. I think it's important to note that their responsibilities are not to maintain, it's to measure and verify that not only the savings are achieved, but all the underlying assumptions to generate those savings are true and continue to proceed. They're looking at sustainable savings over the life of the contract, which is 20 years.
Scott?
So just, I guess, to clarify, I know Jody mentioned the fact that we would use 1/3 less energy, but electric power costs 3 times more than natural gas. But the good news is, I think a long-term plan would be to have some form of town solar, so electric cost becomes near to zero, whereas you got no plans to put a natural gas field out back. So we would, you know, there is the potential to save real money, you know, in the long run. I guess the one question I had, though, just for Jody, I guess, is how does Amoresco, usually with a project, public project, you've got a clerk of the works, which is also there to represent the town's interests and make sure the general contractor does what they're supposed to be doing. It sounds like we've almost got Amoresco as GC and clerk of the works. Is that a wrong assessment?
No, I think that is correct. I mean, I believe that they will bid out the product and the installation of the product, but they are functioning as our project manager and our GC, our general contractor. So I will say they've been around a while. They actually did work with Eric when he was back in Framingham, I believe, or Ashland. And they have a good reputation and a history. And Beth, I don't know if you know how long they've been in business.
Yeah, so Amoresco is one of the early on performance contractors. Performance contracting has been around since the mid-1980s. It actually started out with Citizens Energy and Joe Kennedy, working hard for public housing authorities. And Massachusetts passed Chapter 25A, as Jody mentioned, which addresses implementation of performance contracting in the Commonwealth. So it is also a state law that enables municipalities to use this creative financing construction mechanism to affect, significant, comprehensive, multiple energy savings projects simultaneously to achieve maximum savings and allow you to sort of leverage those energy savings to pay for the cost of the equipment. Amoresco has, as Jody mentioned, been around for quite some time. The company was formed about 22 years ago. They have a very high retention rate of staff, and they're headquartered. They're a national firm, but they're headquartered in Framingham, Massachusetts. So they're a local national company with a very solid reputation, as Jody mentioned.
Jody?
Scott, are you done?
I guess I appreciate that Amoresco is a quality company. I guess my question is, if you have a clerk of the works whose job is to represent the town interests and sort of oversee the general contractor, if the general contractor is also the clerk of the works, I'm trying to figure out just as a matter of process, who is, watching whom. It sounds like it's all one bundle, which to me is a bit of a concern.
Jody, do you want to respond, or Beth?
Beth.
So that's a fair concern. And I think one of the important components of a performance contractor is that it's performance-based. And so the role that you're hiring them to take on is a role of full turnkey services, including, as you said, clerk of the works. But at the end of the day, the system needs to perform or they're writing checks. And it needs to perform as it's designed. It needs to perform and achieve the energy savings that they have committed to. The back-end analysis that they do will be based on a series of analyses that the town approves. So the town's role in this project is not hands-off by any means. The town will be involved in the overall, Eric or someone else on the staff, Paul Fox's replacement, perhaps will be involved on a regular basis, working side by side with Amoresco. But Amoresco will be managing all of those subs. They'll first, bid out and get competitive solutions for the town to ensure you're getting a high quality, competitively priced solution. And then they will manage that effort to have it fully implemented. But again, it's a performance-based relationship. And if the system doesn't perform, they're on the hook to compensate you for the lost savings.
Thanks, I'm done.
Okay, Jody?
I mean, I can defer to Anita. I think the point I wanted to make is, well, first of all, this is new to me too. So we've been learning a lot about this year. KP Law has been involved in this and in other towns too. But again, I don't want to lose sight of the whole purpose is because they have come up with $7 to $8 million of energy related improvements they feel the town can make. And the process is supposed to be that the savings generated pay for those improvements. So you actually reduce the budgets by the amount of savings to pay the debt on the project. That's basically what this is about. So obviously, if we can make $7 to $8 million of energy, and I'm not saying we're going to do it all, but if we can make some portion of that and fund those projects through the savings we achieve, we're fulfilling your goal of getting to net zero, and we're making these improvements through our energy savings. So the budgets will be reduced to pay for this. So that's, and I think, as I said, this project isn't a cookie cutter of what we would typically do. The savings is not going to pay to replace the entire HVAC system at the senior center. But in the projects after this, that is how we're supposed to pay for the project. So,
okay. Anita and then John.
I have a couple of comments, and then, well, first, Beth, I think you're doing a great job answering all of our questions. Thank you so much for your time and being on tonight. I have a follow-up question about the maintenance. And so, Amoresco is not doing that. I understand that the GC. So is it the subcontractors then who would be doing the maintenance for us, or is that town staff or just dependent on the work?
as part of this effort, Amoresco will define the maintenance requirements for all the projects that are implemented. Those maintenance responsibilities could remain the responsibility of the town, or the town could sub out it as it so desires. Typically speaking, staff is currently maintaining HVAC equipment. They'll be maintaining newer, more efficient HVAC equipment that is operating properly. So maintenance costs should not increase. And if they do, that gets built into the overall financing, if you will, of the project.
Okay, thank you. And I had an unrelated comment. It just kind of, I remembered something while Jody was talking. And when we were first talking about Amoresco and this opportunity and stuff a while back, I remember learning that, this is going to be so integrated into the capital planning process that it's really going to help be almost like a work plan for us. Or that's how I remember kind of viewing this work, that it's really going to help us be more thoughtful as we're planning what upcoming projects are coming up. And so I just remember that was going to help add additional structure to capital planning. I just wanted to share that.
Jody?
Yes, and I will say that this project, the senior center, was brought back to capital planning at a meeting a couple of weeks ago, and everyone seemed in support, but a vote was not called for, and so we actually are meeting this Friday to take an actual vote of support or not for this project. I'm guessing it will be support since people seem to be on board, but so this is kind of a learning, project for us. I would say we're doing something that absolutely needs to be done, but we're doing it a little differently. And if we're happy, then we can move forward and take on new projects, in the fall. All of these will come to town meeting. So ultimately it's up to town meeting to decide to move forward.
John.
Yeah, I've worked with turnkey operations before. Is that covered is our contract with Amoresco cover that? Will we need a contract modification or a new contract with them that outlines the responsibilities for this turnkey contract? In other words, do we have it? I'm just concerned about the relationship that Scott mentioned the clerk of the works. Well, if it's turnkey, they're responsible for the performance, the quality, and they'll turn it over to us, and we don't have to worry about all of that. Our issue is enforcing the contract between us and Amoresco to make sure that it's performed correctly.
My understanding is there is a somewhat standard contract assigned to these types of projects, and they are getting me that shortly because obviously, well, and again, let's not forget, town meeting is not forcing you to enter a contract. They're allowing you to enter a contract. So if you don't like the terms after town meeting votes yes, then you don't enter it. But we are in the process of getting that. As I said, I believe it is somewhat standard, but you'll have a chance to see that. And FinCom did ask us a few questions about that, which we have answered. And they did vote in favor of this to abstain because they wanted their questions answered first. So I think we're going to ask them whether they want to reconsider, even though it's a majority, but to see if they want to take another vote on the 19th when they meet again. But I think it was 8-2 and 2 abstained or something like that. So.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Diane Wood has her hand up. So can we unmute her? Although she just put her hand down. I think she put her hand down because she put her question in the chat. Back to Scott's initial question. If the camera on HVAC project will have built-in data and analysis systems, why is there an additional $5,000 yearly fee? Beth, I guess Jody is nodding her head that's for you to answer.
So the fee for measurement and verification is taking data that's available and provided through the interrogation of those systems and evaluating that data against the original assumptions to demonstrate that the savings have been achieved from the baseline usage. So there is analysis and evaluation and a report that needs to be produced and provided to the town And in turn, the town is obligated under the statute to provide a report to the Department of Energy Resources annually. And so that analysis and the report is supporting the town's statutory obligation to report to the state.
And how often does that analysis occur? Is this on an annual basis, semi-quarterly?
It typically, the report is provided typically on an annual basis, but depending on the town's goals and desire for additional information as part of the negotiation with Ameresco, there could be some interim reports that provide some guidance, but typically the report and the full analysis is done annually.
Okay. Jody?
I mean, that is required by the statute. So it's not something Ameresco has decided that they want to do on top of this. I believe it's required by the statute. The other thing I wanted to mention, and I'm not sure that I did, but that the Clean Energy Committee and the Permanent Town Building Committee have also both voted in favor of this. So.
Okay. Jennifer Claro has her hand up, so can we unmute Jennifer?
Hello.
Hi, Jennifer.
Hey, thanks. Yeah, I just listening. I just had two questions. One is, the question that I'm not sure who brought it up, but it was regarding if there's any maintenance issues. And if there's like maintenance issues within the first year, it seems like wouldn't that affect the energy savings, and wouldn't Ameresco be responsible for that maintenance? Because it seems like that would deter energy efficiency. And then my second question is, and maybe I misunderstood, but regarding the $5,000 annual fee, will that be something would that be something that would be part of my budget that I would have to seek additional funding for to cover that cost? Or again, is this tied into the energy saving efficiency?
Okay, got it. Right. So I'll let Jody answer the budget question.
Yes. So Beth, Jennifer is the director of the senior center. So I don't think you are aware of that, but and I'm going to let her answer the question. My guess is it would be under warranty for the first year or several years, depending on what the warranty is, but I'll let her answer that. But no, Jennifer, you will not have to come to me for that money for that annual review. We would make sure that is in the facilities budget. And as we move forward, I think the 5,000 is the estimate for this project. On a smaller project, it would be less. So, I mean, this is a huge project that we're talking about here, but, and I believe we can negotiate that, right, Beth? So we have, and Beth's on our side. So we have not even gotten to the table to negotiate that yet. I think I just want the public to be aware that there will be an annual fee for them to make that analysis, but I'll let you answer the other part, Beth. Thank you.
Thanks, Jody. So the answer is absolutely. Ameresco is responsible for providing a warranty on the equipment and the labor for that 1 year period, and work through any sort of continuous commissioning issues that may occur to ensure that the systems are operating as intended. They're not going to simply install it and walk away and come back in a year. They're going to be, as part of, this is a long-term partnership. So they will be with you to ensure that the systems are operating as intended. The benefit of having control systems that can be accessed remotely is they'll also be able to look and see if the systems are actually performing as needed. And to the extent there is any, again, recommissioning or modifications that are necessary, they'll be able to capture that during the first year to ensure it's working properly. The type of maintenance that will need to occur isn't any different than the typical maintenance that the town currently provides on its buildings. To the extent there's anything new, it will be accounted for as part of the overall financial analysis of the project. Did that answer the question, Jennifer?
Yeah, it did. But my other thought in listening to your explanation is, you all will be monitoring, the inefficiencies and the efficiencies of the system. And what other town staff would be knowledgeable of communicating and understanding what's going on with this system? Because we've had where our systems are controlled remotely, and it does put our staff sometimes at a deficit when we're trying to communicate what the problem is, but we don't understand what the computer system is, and we don't have that analysis. So would that be something that facilities would be involved in, and is understanding, how you're monitoring it remotely? And it seems like there needs to be another check within the town and understanding the system.
So one of the key benefits of a performance contract, again, because it's performance based, is after the construction is done, there's a full commissioning of the systems and then training of town staff.
Okay. That's what I need to know.
Right. And the nice thing is, oftentimes when you do large scale Chapter 149 projects, the commissioning and the training tend to be the last thing, and it's as budget permits. As part of this project, it's an obligation of the contract, and final payments are not made until all of the documentation of the project is provided to the community with manuals. Training is fully explored with everyone who's been identified by the town that needs to be trained, and the project's been fully commissioned. So it's really a full turnkey solution with detailed information and excessive training as needed for the community and defined in the contract.
Right. So it's not just being handed a manual. It will actually be going through the manual together, or how will that work? Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Okay. Thank you.
All right. I don't see any more questions or comments from the board. And I don't see any more from the audience. So with that, is there a motion to recommend Article 6?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
Thank you. Okay. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
And I'm an aye. Beth, thank you very much. Much appreciated. Jody, is Beth going to be at town meeting?
I think she needs to be there.
I do too.
We are going to have Amoresco there too, but Beth, I hope you're able to join us on June 11th, 9 a.m. at Westford Academy. Rain date Sunday. Thank you, Beth. We'll be in touch.
Thank you very much. Have a nice week. Have a nice evening. Bye-bye.
Okay. Article, Jody, we're back to you. Article 7.
Yes, Article 7 is to appropriate funding for the construction of a new fire training facility and establish a stabilization fund for the possible future relocation of the training tower. So we're looking to transfer from capital stabilization $505,000 and $75,000 to transfer from the capital stabilization, $75,000 on top of that for that special account. And it is our plan that once that we have sold the 35 Town Farm building to Choice, then we will reimburse capital stabilization.
Okay. Is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Oh, John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next one, Article 8, is Community Preservation Committee recommendations, and we do have Jesse Byer here if you'd like him to go through this with you.
Yeah, because I think this is the first time we're seeing this, so if he could, that would be helpful.
Hi, Jesse.
Sure. Can you see me?
We can, and we can hear you.
All right, great. So this year, the CPA committee is recommending 8 projects for a total of just under $1.2 million. The first project is for $332,874 and is a transfer to the Affordable Housing Trust. You may wonder why that specific of a number, and the reason is because that's the 10% affordable housing allocation that the committee is required to make every year. So instead of reserving that money in fund balance, we just decided to transfer it to the Affordable Housing Trust. They plan to use that money along with funds currently in the trust to set aside $400,000 for inflationary cost overruns for the Helena Crocker Affordable Housing Unit. Because of COVID delays and just costs of construction increasing the last 2 years, there already is around $900,000 of excess funding that's needed to complete that project. So David Hedison of the Chelmsford Housing Authority plans to use the $400,000 that he would receive for the trust and then ask the state for another $500,000 to address those cost overruns. The next project is the $190,000 to the Conservation Trust Fund. That's just, it's kind of turned into, I guess, a typical transfer that the committee does almost every year. They set aside that money for the Conservation Trust, and that allows the Conservation Commission to act quickly if a parcel in town, open space parcel in town becomes available. They're able to use that money and purchase that without town meeting authorization. So we wouldn't have to call a special town meeting. There's currently $572,000 in that fund. So I guess, I don't know. Andrea, you said math is it's getting late, my math. Let's see, it'd be about 760,000 or so in the fund after this transfer. The third project is for $5,940. It's installation of town-wide bike racks. The locations that the racks would be installed would be the American Legion fields, the Jack Walsh fields, the VFW fields, Grassy Pond, Stony Brook, and the Neshoba Brook Conservation Area. The Highway Department will be helping to install the bike racks, so that actually saves a ton of the cost. The main project is pretty much just for the bike racks themselves. So the fourth project is for $176,450 for the Healthy Lakes and Ponds Collaborative. That will include monitoring, treatment, and water quality testing for the 7 water bodies throughout town. That's a 1-year treatment, monitoring, and testing program. The fifth project is for $41,415 for the tennis and basketball court design at the Jack Walsh Fields. So currently the tennis courts have been closed for the last year or two, just due to safety and the unusability of the courts. So the Parks and Rec Commission is looking to, get those courts repaved, opened up again. And then they also want to just look at the overall, just the overall field at Jack Walsh, make sure that the accessibility and any future amenities are accounted for as part of this design. So this design money will allow them to do that. The $75,000 for the Parkerville schoolhouse roof. Originally, Paul Fox had come with around a $20,000 request just to replace with shingles for the Parkerville schoolhouse, and the CPC asked to accommodate a more historically age-appropriate roof for the building. So I believe Paul received quotes for a cedar roof, which is why the cost is $75,000. And Paul did say he did include a little bit of contingency in there. So The 139,707 is for supplemental funding for the Robinson Playground. In 2021, excuse me, last year, town meeting appropriated 594,000 for the Robinson Playground. The school and Paul had hoped to use some of the existing equipment at the playground, but when they took a look at it and did further design and research, they determined that most of the equipment, they were going to be replacing around 75% of it anyway, and what they'd hoped to salvage, just, it didn't make sense, and it would probably need to be replaced in less than a couple of years anyway. So Paul decided to seek additional funding to try to just redo all the equipment at the playground, do it all at once. And then the final project was for 189,000. This was supplemental funding for the Robinson tennis courts. So right when June of 2020, I think it was our first COVID town meeting, the town appropriated 750,000 for 8 tennis courts at the Robinson School. And once again, due to COVID delays, when Paul opened his bids just a couple of weeks ago, the bids came in at 872,000. So Paul is asking for 189,000, which an additional 189,000, which consists of 172,000 to meet the bids, and then he's asking for around 18,000 of contingencies, which he does hope that he's able to return to the CPA.
Okay. Questions from any of the board members? Okay, I'm not seeing any. So is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
And is there a second?
Second.
Okay, John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you, Jesse.
Thanks.
Okay, so the next one, Article 9, you actually already voted, but I wanted you to at least see it again. I don't know, Eric, are you going to pull that up? Because there's so much going on here. We were trying to make it easy for the voters to understand, and so we reorganized it. So there's no new information in here. It's just we broke it down by band change, and then title change is lower. Eric. Thank you. And then remove positions. So it didn't look like this when you voted it before, but I went through it with Dan today and everything is the same. So I don't know whether you want to re-vote this in the new format.
If nothing's changed, I don't really see any need to re-vote it.
That's fine. I just wanted you to see it because we tried to make it easier to understand. So, and you're already in here as recommending it, as you can see, but I wanted you to see it. So, okay. So the next one is Article 10, which is to authorize revolving funds. And I believe there are 2 increases here. And Dan, I don't know if you want to speak to that.
Sure. For the immunizations and clinical services, the Board of Health did request an increase from 60,000 to 75,000, just due to the increased cost of flu vaccines. And also, as we discussed before, the community gardens is increasing from 10,000 to 15,000.
Okay. Any questions? Don't see any. Is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Anita? All those in favor?
Aye.
Scott? What happened to Scott?
Aye.
Oh, there you are. John?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next article is 11, which is the annual 2023 operating budget. And of course, in this article, we list all the various funding sources. I don't need to read it unless you want me to. The Finance Committee did vote 8-0 in favor of this at their last meeting.
Okay. Is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
And a second? Thank you. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. And the next article is Article 13, which is an annual article. And we ask the town to appropriate funds from water enterprise to pay for the other post benefit stabilization fund.
Is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
All those in favor? John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then we have Article 17, which is the Finance Committee request to amend chapters 51 and 22 of the general bylaws to reduce the number of Finance Committee books to be printed and discontinue the mailing. And actually, they voted to recommend this article at their last meeting 8-0. And actually, you got featured in this. We changed some language. And now the select board are responsible to publish the postcard, which is consistent with the special town meeting, and which basically means I do that. So.
Okay. I know that Christina Green presented this to us at our last meeting. Has anything changed since then?
That changed because I think they had in here that the finance committee was going to do the postcard, but then they decided that it should be consistent. So it's really select board and up to me. And Dan, was there any other change that was made?
Yes, instead of a list of articles for the postcard, the League of Women Voters had suggested a summary of articles.
Right.
And also, instead of just a printed version of the warrant, the Finance Committee suggested and Finance Committee report to be added to that language. And then lastly, they wanted copies of the printed version of the book at the police station, which is open 24 hours a day.
But they did not want that changed in the article, correct? In the motion, they just wanted us to do it.
They did vote to recommend it in the article.
Oh, okay. All right. I was there. I don't remember that part, but that's fine. Okay.
Scott, you have a question?
Yeah, just for a quick one, which hopefully is simple, but does this, presumably that means that the select board's budget takes care of the postage? So do we allocate the money from point A to point B to handle that, or is it too small to worry about?
Yeah, we moved all the postage into one budget several years ago, didn't we, Dan?
Yeah, we have the town hall postage, but we still have the full funding for the FinCom book for next year. So that funding will be available to pay for the cost of the new what do we call it? The summary of the warrant articles. So which will be cheaper than the actual FinCom book.
Thanks.
Anita?
Eric, could you actually scroll down to Article 17? Okay. I have a follow-up question, I think from last time, which is around the days of like at least 10 days before the meeting. Like this postcard needs to go out with like the voter registration information. And I remember, Christina, I know you like had emailed to follow up, and I just wanted to get clarity around that because I don't remember where that landed, but I see the language is still in there.
Right. That was my question too, Anita, is that you had brought that up last time. I think Christina is on, so can we unmute her and perhaps she can answer the question? Christina, I see you, but you're still on mute.
There we go.
There you
Can
go.
hear me now?
Okay.
Okay. Yes, so we did a little digging on that, and it turns out that the timing is the same as it is for a special town meeting. So in fact, when you get your special town meeting mailer, it is too late for you to register, but the League of Women Voters is actually okay with that because it alerts the residents that they have missed the deadline. So to be consistent, they think it's fine. I think Patty can correct me if if I'm wrong, but I believe the voter registration deadline is like 20 days out, and it would just be too far in advance to get that mailing out. I know it's a little bizarre, but that is the way that it happens right now with special town meeting and that timing. So it is consistent.
Well, I guess, actually, Anita, go ahead. I guess, you know, I get that it's 20 days out, but why would you be sending a postcard out that says, you know, you can register to vote when the date is already passed and you can't? That doesn't make any sense to me.
All it says is what the voter registration deadline is. It just says voter registration deadline, and it gives you a date.
Which will have already passed by the time.
Exactly. Yes.
I don't know, maybe it's just me, but that doesn't make any sense to me.
I do agree, but apparently that is the way that it's done for a special town meeting currently. So we're just doing the same thing for annual town meeting.
Well, maybe we need to change how it's done for special town meeting. Just saying.
Yeah, but again, we get back to to send that out in enough time. You'd be talking a month ahead, and I think that's too far in advance.
Oh, I agree with you about that.
Yeah.
Anyway, Anita?
I mean, I'm on the same page as Andrea on this, and I don't think it makes sense to include that information if it's not applicable. I mean, just to let people know that it's already late doesn't seem to be very helpful, especially when I feel like we have a lot of other avenues and channels to reach people. It doesn't have to be through this postcard to let people know about the registration deadline. So I think it seems a little too much. But okay, thank you, Christina.
You're welcome.
Yeah. I don't know. I guess I have a hard time approving something that makes no sense.
I agree. And I don't know if we could take that part out
or, you know, perhaps, you know, have a, since Christina, you're saying this came from the league, maybe we need to reach out and talk with the league about why they feel this needs to be in. Because as I'm on the same page you are, Anita, this just makes no sense to me, and I'm having a really hard time trying to support this with information that is already passed and that people can't act upon.
So if I could just chime in here for a second, Andrea.
Yeah.
While I fully agree with that, I did go back and forth with the league about that, and like I said, they were fine with it. It is consistent with special town meeting. If we're going to change it, then I think we should. Then it would make sense to change it for both.
Oh, I agree with you. That's why I said, why should we? You know, we should be changing special town meeting as well as this, so that they're both consistent.
Right. I'm just a little hesitant to change things now. I don't want people to get confused that there's more things going on than what we're trying to achieve with this. The only thing I'm trying to achieve with this is not mailing the FinCom book. And so I'm just a little concerned that people are going to be confused.
Okay. I don't know that they'll be confused. Jody, and I think John had his hand up, and then Jody.
Yeah, one of my concerns has long been getting enough information to the annual town meeting so they make a good decision or an informed decision. This is to limit or reduce the FinCom books, but I don't see the FinCom books mentioned in here. Is that mentioned somewhere else? We talk about the postcard and everything else, but I must have missed the part where it says we're going to put FinCom books someplace and how many we're going to make and that kind of thing. I mean, did anybody else find where the FinCom book is referred to here, or is it in another part of the bylaw?
And Eric, can you scroll down so we can see the whole bylaw? Thank you. There you go. The Finance Committee shall publish on the town website and make available to the public at Town Hall, Police Station, J.B. Fletcher Library, and the Cameron Senior Center the warrant with the Finance Committee's recommendation and the town manager's proposed budget at least 14 days before the meeting.
Well, you could do that without the book. I mean, it said the warrant. They didn't mention the FinCom book, so I guess it could take any form.
Okay, Jody?
So I think it means this book, John. It says
Okay.
it says the FinCom's recommendations and the town manager's proposed budget. So I believe that's how they're calling it, the book. And then,
Okay.
then you can see it says in printed versions of the warrant and the finance committee report. So the thing about this voter registration deadline is, so we've been sending out that postcard for 14 days. And yes, it gave the deadline on it. I don't think that's the only way we communicate that with the public. It's just in there. And I agree with you. It doesn't really make a lot of sense to tell people after the fact. I do think we tell them before the fact too, but you're supposed to sign this warrant tonight. So I'm just a little worried about editing and changing when you're signing it tonight. So I just want to throw that out there. Patty's, got something to say too.
Yep. Go ahead, Patty.
I just want to mention that we do a lot of promoting of the voter registration deadline. We're there till 8 o'clock at night, the day we're supposed to be, and not a soul shows up. So there's the availability of just doing it online now. As far as voter registration, there's just so many ways you can register to vote that I think that, in my opinion, that you can leave it on there and it just says, hey, you need to have done it by this date. That's just tipping you off that you need to do it. And if you haven't done it, well, or maybe you better check and see, that type of thing. It is, Jody's right. We've had it this way for 25 years that it always says that. But now that we're trying to make changes, it's coming to the forefront that it's being noticed, but it's always been on there.
Well, I get that it's always been on there, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it always has to stay on there. But
Agree.
But what Jody, the argument that is persuasive for me, at least tonight, is that we have to sign the warrant tonight. And so we shouldn't be making edits or changes at this point in time. But I think it's something, I'm sorry that I know it sounds really small, but I just think it's something that we should come back to. So with that, because I think we've beaten this horse to death, is there a motion to recommend?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and the
Okay,
last one.
The last one is number 19, which is to authorize the Conservation Commission to lease hill orchards. And they're asking to lease or license all or portions of hill orchards, rent the facilities thereupon for 5 years. And that's pretty much it.
Okay, is there a motion to recommend?
I make a motion to recommend.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Jody, we have to sign the warrant tonight. Can we do it electronically? And I think I have to come in and sign one original. Is that right, Patty or Jody? I seem to remember I had to do that last time.
I'm not aware that you have to do that, but Patty, if Patty may have.
I am.
Oh.
I like you to sign the warrants because if I have to send it to the Attorney General, I just like the real signatures on there. You can come in, we can visit, we can chat.
Okay, we will all come in and visit and chat.
All right.
See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Patty, when do you need that by, Patty?
When is my deadline? I mean, you don't have to, it would be nice to have it as soon as you can come in, but I think I'm not seeing my timeline. It has to be, when is hey, I've just got over election. I've gone back into town meeting mode. I think it's the end of the month that I have to have it posted, but I do like to post it as soon as you sign it. So if you can get it to me by the 18th, your signature, I'd be really happy. How about that?
Okay, I think we can do that.
Okay, great.
Will you
Thank
be ready tomorrow?
Yes.
Sure
it'll
can.
be ready, and it'll be in my office, but actually, I don't think until about 10, because I've got some staff issues tomorrow, so after 10 tomorrow.
Okay. All right. Old and new business. We have a request from the DEI committee to decrease their membership from 19 seats to 16 seats. I guess they're still having problems reaching quorum. So is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Okay, and just so as a heads up, Eric and Martha, I know you're on. You are scheduled to come to our meeting in June, our June 14th meeting, to discuss the ballot question for Indigenous Peoples Day. And we really are expecting you to attend that meeting. So, all right. Next.
Andrea,
Yeah.
I think it's May 24th.
Oh.
That they're coming to.
Sorry, May 24th. My bad. I missed a meeting. Okay, and we will see you both then, and we look forward to meeting and talking with you. And then we have a request from the town manager to appoint Christy Bates to the Scholarship and Grant Committee. Is there a motion to appoint?
So moved.
In a second?
Second.
All those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Do we have any board reports? I don't see any. Okay. Town managers report. Okay, Jody.
So we have a request to approve the following purchase orders. Maya for property insurance deductible for 2 claims at the Frost School, located at 73 Main Street, in the amount of $10,000. And from the Road and Bush lease expense account, cooling and heating specialist for steam heating, fan, coil, control, valve replacement, and necessary work in the amount of $2,188. That's it.
Okay, is there a motion to approve? Usually you have a whole long list. I'm sorry.
So moved.
Nope.
Is there a second? Somebody seconded. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to waive reading of correspondence?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, just raise your hands. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
A second?
Second.
All those in favor? Raise your hands. All right. And we are adjourned. Thank you all. Thank you, everybody, tonight. And good night, Westford. Everybody be safe.
Yep. Good night. Be safe.
Night.